My name's Lee, and today I'm going to be taking you through an efficient twist cut on long curly hair. As you can see, Lucas's hair has amazing texture and density. The aim here is not to completely transform Lucas's look, but to refine the shape and maintain the current look that he has, bringing calmness and control to the overall aesthetic. Something I'm paying careful attention to is the curl pattern and how reactive it is. I'm going to be utilizing twists, overdirection and disconnection, cutting the whole shape with a feather razor. This is an efficient and effective method for you to get the maximum results on a daily basis. I'll explain in more detail the how, when and the why as the tutorial goes on. Let's get into the process. Firstly, I'm going to thoroughly spray down the hair. You can also choose to shampoo and condition at this point. Next, I'm going to set the initial section pattern. This haircut is going to be split into 2 zones only. To make things more manageable, I've first split the head from side to side, then finding the highest point of the head to just behind the ear where the hairline starts to change. This now leaves me with 4 more manageable quadrants to work with. On the front half of the head, I'm going to be taking sections just above the rounding of the head. At the back, I'm going to take a section that just dips below the crown, but not as low as the occipital bone. I chose this type of section pattern to maintain density in the external perimeter of the haircut, but add movement to the internal. You could essentially break this haircut down to an upper zone and a lower zone. It's important to spend some time here developing the zone sizes and shapes, as this will determine how much hair you have to work with in each zone. This will affect the overall look and shape of the haircut. Once the zones have been determined and secured away, I will begin to cut the perimeter shape in the lower zone. Starting in the center of the back zone of the head, I'm going to take my initial section no wider than the width of my comb. I'm choosing to use a razor for this haircut. Although I want to bring control to the look, I also want it to have a lived-in feel on the edges. Cutting with the scissors would leave this look very blunt due to the density of the hair and require too much texturizing, turning this haircut into a not so efficient process. Something to always consider when cutting curly or textured hair is the spring back factor. When the hair is wet, it will stretch out due to the weight of the water. As it dries, naturally, it will spring up to a more condensed shape. I like to leave the hair a ½ inch to 1 inch longer than desired, depending on how reactive it is. These assessments need to be made in the initial stages of the consultation, as this is a fixed factor. I'm choosing to twist each section before I cut it. Remember, through my initial assessments, I decided I want to bring a lived-in feel to the perimeter, but I still want to maintain control. Twisting the hair doesn't allow it to move too much and encourages the cuticles to lay in an orderly fashion. It also crosses the outer edges of that particular section over each other, creating a regularity within the structure. Notice I'm keeping a very low elevation on this section too. Again, this is to maintain control and density internally throughout this zone. I'm also using short, shallow motions with the razor to ensure that I don't remove too much density internally. I'm going to continue on around the head, completing one side at a time. I'm choosing to overdirect each new section back behind the shoulder so that the perimeter shape doesn't get too round towards the front and rise up towards the face. A check for balance from side to side is essential before moving on. Once I am happy with the balance and length, I will comb out the twisted sections with a wide tooth comb, give it a shake and assess the overall structure. Once I am happy with how the lower zone is looking, I will groom the hair neatly away behind the ear and secure with a clip. This will allow me to maintain a clean working space and ensure minimal interference between zones. Moving on now, I will release the upper zone. This zone is going to act as a layer and create the internal movement for this look. I'm going to create my first section towards the front hairline, ensuring that it is no wider than the width of my comb. Before I cut this zone, I'm going to assess where I want this length to fall, again taking into consideration the shrink factor and how reactive the hair is in this zone. Taking this zone too short can quickly leave you with an undesired result. Once I have determined these factors, I'm going to start to twist the front section while keeping a low elevation. As we discovered earlier, this will maintain control through the interior, but leave a more disheveled finish on the edges. I'm cutting with the razor using short and shallow motions. Each subsequent section will be overdirected to this first section. This will leave a progression in length towards the crown, allowing for a seamless transition between the length and layer, even though we are utilizing disconnection. Continue through this zone until there are no sections left to be cut. Push all the hair back towards the crown and shake it out. I chose to tidy up Lucas's sideburns with a little bit of clipper over comb and point cutting with the texturizing scissors to add a soft, natural finish. This was a very visual process, ultimately adding to the overall look. Once all the cutting has been completed, I will move on to the styling. It's paramount that we care for long hair properly, as it requires a slightly different thought process than short hair. Long hair has naturally been on the head a lot longer than someone who has short hair. The older hair needs to be cared for and maintained adequately. This is one of the keys to having healthy, good-looking, long hair. I'm going to use a generous amount of matte styling paste and coat the hair from roots to tips. This will give the hair hydration and form throughout the whole shape. Be sure to rake the product through the hair with your fingertips, encouraging the cuticles to run in the correct direction. As you can already see, this shape looks great while still damp, but I want to add some extra definition by encouraging the hair with a diffuser attachment on my Dyson Supersonic. I'm going to set a short parting towards the center of the head to encourage direction and overall shape. I'm also going to use a movement clip to secure the hair behind one of the ears. This will open up the face shape and keep an element of focus on Lucas's eyes, as I believe they are one of his strongest features. Using a medium speed and a low heat, I'm going to allow the hair to fall into the diffuser and take its own natural structure. Once the hair is about 70% dry, I will switch to a cold air setting on the Supersonic and cool the hair down. This will allow the product to set in the hair, creating amazing texture, and it will help to seal the cuticle layer, ultimately leaving the hair in optimal condition. Remember, when styling hair, whatever gets heated up must be cooled down. Once I am happy with the cooling process, I will go ahead and tweak the look with my fingertips until I'm happy with the overall shape. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and took away some useful tips and tricks to use in your salon or barbershop. To see more tutorials just like this one, please visit our extensive education library.
Like